Hello, welcome to the Nurse Coach Duo. My name is Angie McGuire, and I am the owner of Coach Angie out of Oak Park, Illinois.
And hi, I'm Jen Schroer, the owner of Clarity Health and Wellness. And today we have Gayle Rose with us. Welcome, Gayle.
Hello, welcome.
I love
Oh, I
your
love
star.
it.
Welcome, welcome. We're really excited to have you. We were talking about the fact that we haven't really talked nutrition yet on this topic, on this podcast. And it's really such an important topic for midlife women. What I love about the conversation we're going to have today, Gail, is that you really are talking about, why are we always so stressed out and trying to diet and like put all this pressure on us around nutrition? And in this phase of life in midlife, it's so important that we learn to nourish ourselves
Yes.
and turn off all of the noise that we learned as we grew up and we counted calories
Yeah.
and we fasted and we did all these other things. So let's just start kind of with a quick overarching definition of what is this diet stress disorder that you wanted to talk about today.
Sure. Thanks, Jen. So it's a non-clinical term. It's really quite informal, but what it describes is the strain that we feel, especially as women. Uh, it's a chronic mental, emotional, and physical pressure that comes from diet, growing up in diet culture. So repeated dieting, food restriction, those things bring it on, and it compounds over time, especially for women. So I was wondering how early it starts for us, and just in a quick search found that about 50% of girls in elementary school, so like age 6 to 12, 50% are talking about weight or have fear of fat. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so young. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so young. And I feel like it was different for us, right? I mean, we didn't have, I mean, that's social media. That's really, I feel like,
Yeah.
attributes to that. And that could be a whole nother, probably a whole nother interview about that. But just speaking about, midlife women today and to our audience, we grew up with, every diet at our fingertips and not, and thankfully we didn't have social media, right? So I'll get back to that in a sec, also, but, we had every diet, counting points, counting calories, like the low fat and how we thought that was good for us.
Right.
And so here we are in midlife, still recovering from that, right? We're still thinking, calories in, calories out, just, most of us. I mean, I think we've come a long way, and certainly people seeking information, hopefully they have new information. But just, share a little bit how you start working with women in midlife
Yeah.
around um, the diet stress disorder.
Yeah, but to your point, there's so much confusion, there's exaggeration, and lots of misinformation too in the diet industry. So people are confused. So I usually start with just kind of leveling the playing field. And I actually have a guidebook that I created that I give all my new clients when we start, just to make sure that they've got the right information about what affects our metabolism, and um, that it's more than just calories in and calories
Mm.
out. But the other thing is, there's this idea that there is kind of a magic wand, right? That if we wave it and just get the right diet, it's going to solve all of our problems. And it just isn't true. So uh, the industry is enormous. There's something like, it's like a $90 billion industry around dieting and growing. That's just in the US. And I did just another proof point here. I did a quick search on Amazon, just typing in best-selling diet books. Over 90,000 titles. It's kind of crazy. So how do you know what's true, what isn't? And but what happens, Angie and Jen, is that all of these external authorities, telling us what is and isn't there, we lose trust in ourselves. and trusting our bodies. And it has a really detrimental effect. And kind of this, and after years of like chronic dieting, and failures, we end up feeling like a sense of unworthiness and that we can't trust our body. And so the cycle kind of repeats.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that we could just get rid of the word diet because, as Angie and I are both nurses, right? And so as bedside nurses, your diet is what you need for your body to nourish it appropriately, to not affect, if you need something cardiac or kidney or liver specific. That's what a diet is, right? Like, but we've made this whole connotation into a diet means I'm restricting myself. So it's like, how can we like get away from that? Because then again, you're like, a failure. Now you feel like you've had a failure and you're trying this diet and that diet. And I love that you said that the magic wand, it's so right because people are like, oh, well, I did keto and it fixed everything, or I did this and it fixed it. Well, that doesn't mean it's going to be right for anyone else. And, also sometimes you are doing this diet and you actually are causing yourself problems because your only goal is weight loss.
Right.
That can't be the same thing. You know what I mean? So like, I really wish we could just, I don't know. I hate renaming things because I think people get too caught up on things, but that's when I'd be all for renaming.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So focusing on the lifestyle behaviors is, and like I often say to clients, instead of just like, how much do you want to lose this week? Thinking about instead, what behaviors can I adopt? What does a healthier person look like? What did they do? And focusing on the mindset and the habits instead.
Yeah.
Of those, that out what is really just an outcome of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then because I think that when it comes to it, as well as so many women are like, oh, well, like either I'm a failure, or I just don't have the willpower, or I don't, I didn't do it right, or what have you. So like, how do you deal with that? Like this whole idea of, oh, I just don't have the willpower to do this, or I'm just, I just can't do it.
Right. Yeah. So all that chronic dieting, you lose the trust in yourself. But the thing with willpower is it's really a fleeting thing. Everybody has it in different amounts, but every day it depletes as the day goes on, and then it resets the next day. And that's why most people, if you talk to them about, their healthier choices and how they change throughout a day, they're like, it's easy to say no to ice cream in the morning, but come 8 o'clock at night, when you spent the day, going from one thing to another in a chronically stressed state, it's harder. People are looking for a relief, a release from that stress. So like, if you remember the old pressure cookers, maybe that our moms used, before Instant Pots, and there was that little thing on the top that would go, that's how we tend to live our lives. And that steam just wants to burst out come end of day. So the approach that I take is, instead of relying on willpower, I talk to people about finding their why. And that's my company name is WhyPowered Health Coaching. So it's finding the deep reasons for being a more intentional caretaker of your health, and having it be bigger than weight loss. So connecting those reasons for wanting to change to the things that you truly value. So, it's a process I take people through, but it's finding that why and developing into a really compelling personalized statement. For example, one of my clients' why is health is happipiness, because she's recognized that the healthier and more energetic she feels, the happier she can feel. Another one that I really love is the healthier I am, the happier I am. Or sorry, the more I do, the more I can do. Which really resonates, especially when you think about, mobility and movement. So yeah, forget willpower.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, the name of your company, and I mean, why? I mean, that's beautiful. It's brilliant. So well done on you creating this space for women. And because it is important, I mean, for many aspects of our life, to ask us why, right? Why are we doing these things? And I think especially again, focusing on women in midlife, I think back in the day, the why was, we wanted to look like, the skinny model or
Right.
whatever. That's what we were told, like the word skinny. I don't even think people are supposed to use that word anymore,
Right.
nor should they, right?
Mhm.
I love when you talk about one of your clients' whys, like the healthier I am, the happier I am, right? And that's what, like, getting to know ourselves and what it
Mhm.
all means. So I certainly applaud your work for that. But would you say that when people seek your services as a coach, do you think a lot of people are coming to you because they want to lose weight, or they really want to get
Yes.
rid of the talk in their head that's going
Yeah.
on? And it was formed with, when we were, early teenagers,
Yeah.
in
Well,
this
they
diet culture.
sure. Yeah. I mean, they tend to be bound up with one another, but yes, most people when they contact me, it is about weight loss. But as the partnership and the journey goes on, it becomes so much bigger than that. It becomes
Yeah.
elevated self-care, greater levels of self-respect. And it's funny too, because I've been doing this work for a long time, 11 years now, and 26 of my clients over that time have shed 50 or more pounds. And I say they're my winner circle members. And the majority of them, when I ask them, what's the biggest thing that you got from this partnership with me? They don't talk about the weight loss.
Yeah.
Even
Ah,
though, they
that's great.
start as that being their primary motivation, they primarily talk about how their relationship with themselves has changed and how everything flows from that their whole life, the energy that they bring to their job, and their kids and or grandkids, and it's so they start to see that the weight loss part is just kind of an outcome of the changes that they make.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that
Yeah.
because I know that I've worked with many women who they're just they really do think, okay, tell me what diet to use, or I need to eat less. They're still stuck on the calories in, calories out type of thing. And really, especially in the midlife, especially when you're starting to go through perimenopause and we start to lose that estrogen, and now we are not managing our blood sugar as well. We start to see maybe some weight gain, especially around the middle, or just things aren't working the way they used to. The first inclination for women is I need to eat less and exercise more. And it actually creates this whole this reversal of now I'm actually putting on weight because I'm stressing my body so much that it's like holding on to everything. So
Right.
when you run into people, like, they come to you and they're like, okay, I want to lose weight. And you're coaching them from a you don't need a new diet
Yeah.
perspective, right? How do you find that? How are people reacting to that? And how do you help them get over kind of that hump of, I have to restrict my calories. It doesn't matter what you say. I just know that's going to work.
Right. Well, that's a great question, Jen. I share stories of successful clients that I've partnered with in the past, and how they've kind of um, gone down the road of it's not learning that it's not just about calories in, calories out. And it's a process. All of it is kind of I think of it like a compass reorientation. We're not jumping from here to over here. It's a slow and steady shift. So I usually, after getting to know them, assessing their situation, understanding their past, present, and then future goals, I will recommend different readings and podcasts and things to help them kind of unwind the diet culture mentality. Or so it's all very personalized. I don't take a cookie cutter approach. Certainly not like an app. It's not like a one size fits all. Like the work that you do too, I know, is very personalized. So understanding what people's personal obstacles and thought patterns tend to be, and taking it one step at a time, helping them build the patience, the consistency, and the resiliency for the journey.
Yeah. And it does take so much time, right? It all takes so much time.
It does.
And, Jen and I talk about this quite a bit about, just sort of, rewiring people for that too. Like things there is effort has to be done to put into this, and, building a relationship with a health coach or a nurse coach or your medical provider or who, and, start those conversations around change and, and goals, right? And I love how, you take so much time and really, start from the very beginning, right? And that's painful for a lot of people and they don't
It
want to
can
go
be.
back,
It can be.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really common, and I imagine in your work too, where people just they've tried so many things and they're just, give me the answer, tell me what to
Yeah.
eat, tell me what not to eat, tell
Yes.
me,
Yeah.
what exercise plan to follow, and they just want the results. And I explain that the coaching, what makes it so powerful is
Yeah.
it's us as coaches facilitating their personal journey and change and helping them find the answers that fit their lifestyle instead of just handing them another list of forbidden foods or here, follow this extreme exercise plan and you'll certainly lose weight. It's much deeper than that.
Mhm.
And I
Yes.
think it's challenging for people because they're so conditioned to that, give me the answer, and not trusting themselves, not
Yeah.
believing that they have the answers, they just need to uncover them. And the other thing I think is, the habits and the mindset, which are so foundational, they're intangible. So it's really common. I remember back in decades ago when I was experiencing diet stress disorder, and I started hearing about mindset and those things. I'm like, change your thoughts to lose weight? What are you talking about? Just, because how is that going to work?
Yeah.
But because we get so focused on those tangible external things, the calories, the points, the whatever it might be, and it's much more challenging to connect to those intangible things. So that's a shift for sure.
Yeah, that's a huge shift. It's not an easy one to come about, and sometimes you need somebody to guide you through that, right? Into coming out on the other side, because we really have been indoctrinated with these. I mean, when you're getting to 45 and 50 years old, you've had a lot of time to think that, okay, this is how I have to live. And especially when things that you used to do don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Which is what we really start to run into, because now your body's the hormones are changing, so your body's just not the same. And I think learning to listen to your body is so huge in that, and kind of what you're saying about, like internally we all think we know what we need to do to take care of ourselves. It just tends to get to be so overwhelming that we lose track of, oh, I actually do know what to do. It's just, okay, I can't quite figure out how to put it in place. So having a
Right.
coach like you is great to be able to put that into place. And
Well, that's the other, I'm sure that's the other really powerful thing about coaching, because people can know, but then there's the doing. And that, what I tell people, that's the real power of magic of coaching, is it closes that gap between the knowing and the doing.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, if you were just where we just landed right there is a perfect time to ask you, like, what do you think is the step between the knowing and the doing, right? Because I do think there's so much of this information plus action, right? Here's the information. Now I need to put it into action. Right. And so many people think I need to start with this, like you say, this extreme diet.
Yeah.
But as you've seen, that doesn't work, or else you wouldn't be back here, right?
Exactly.
So like what's kind of what do you have? I know it's all personalized, but do you have a first step, a way that you kind of work people through this?
Yeah. So um first I say, let's just go through a different doorway.
Mhm.
It's it was part of the diet stress disorder conditioning. There's this idea that we can just kind of beat ourselves into change. And if only I were more disciplined, if only I had more willpower. And I said, we got to go through a different doorway. And the label on that door is kindness and curiosity and acceptance too, because and so there's this idea, I think, that if I accept myself like how I am right now, with this bulging belly or, extra 20, 30 pounds, then I won't change. And that I would challenge for anyone, because if we can accept ourselves, love ourselves into change, it really is a totally different approach. I often say, beatings do not improve morale. So we gotta lower the volume of the inner critic. And I think for so many women, that is it's part of the diet stress disorder, and it's really ingrained. Like, I can't believe you ate all that ice cream. What do and then we restrict and deprive, and then it's just this cycle that repeats. So instead, let's say we've overeaten ice cream. Instead of, we've got maybe kind of an assault on our body, and then we put a sort of a double arrow into things, and we've got another mental assault that we layer on top of it, and it just keeps us, on the ground. Yeah. So instead, if we can relearn and rewire things to maybe, instead of beating ourselves up about making imperfect food choices, we instead think about, we get curious about what's underneath. What feeling led you to do that? What was the trigger? And then there's lots of hacks, of course, that can come into play. Finding the pause between the trigger and the response is a simple one, but it takes a lot of practice and awareness. It all starts with that awareness of thoughts that drive our behavior, that drive our action, and our results. So it all this is the foundation. Begins there and kind of trickles down to our behaviors and understanding the way we tend to self-sabotage.
Oh my gosh, such powerful work you do.
Yes.
Gayle.
I love it.
Wow. And so personal, right? Yeah. There's no one size fits all. I mean, I think that's what we all need to know about everything. So that you gotta figure it out on your own. You gotta, if you want to take that first step, it's about you, and you can't take the first step similar to what's on social media or what you did when you were 20 years old either.
Right.
So absolutely. I really applaud your work, and it's so important. Yeah. So important. I wish you could be in every traditional or conventional doctor's or, nurse practitioner's office, and you could just be waiting for midlife women.
Yes. 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 There's a lot of need.
I wish we could clone you. Yeah.
Well, there's one other sort of analogy about that critic and the, the idea of lowering that volume and raising the cheerleader volume, celebrating our small successes, which women, I don't know about you all, but I found we don't tend to do that. Yeah. Right. So that's a shift that I help people make. But here's one thing that I find a lot of people relate to. If over here is this drill sergeant kind of voice, right? Like always trying to beat into change. And over on the other end is kind of this always letting yourself off the hook kind of thing. Like, saying you're going to do that workout or, not eat something, whatever. But you're never making traction, right? There's these two really extreme ends of things. If we find that space in the middle, that's where that kindness and compassion and curiosity, but results can happen. I call it the compassionate drill sergeant. Not letting yourself off the hook and not beating yourself up, and finding that space in the middle instead. That's really a sweet spot. And I don't know that a lot of women especially have found or understand that space or have experienced it maybe their whole lives. Always that drive for perfection, and yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, as long as we continue to comment on each other's bodies and think that way, I mean, it's going to be a struggle, right? And we're going to kind of have that constant talk in our head. Negative self-talk is such a hard thing to manage, to learn to manage. And it just seems, like even when you start it, it seems so hokey, but man, if you start working on it, it really can make such a huge difference and help you get a little bit of progress out of what you're trying to do. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I did a presentation not too long ago, and it was about setting goals, and like I said, like typically it's not motivation. Typically it's not, willpower. It's the things get in the way,
Mhm.
right? Things get in the way. So that's a great thing for a coach to help with as well is, kind of busting those barriers. And like you're saying, like that pause of, why did I make that decision? And if you can get to the point of making the pause before you actually make the decision, even better. But, starting to recognize and that awareness. I mean, Angie and I, we talk about tracking quite a bit, and this is in all different senses, not just like food tracking and just what you can learn about your body. And I do think that the more we can start learning our body and recognizing what it needs, and obviously talking nicer to ourselves. But I just think that can make such a world of difference in the decisions that we make, whether it be on our plate, whether it be whether we go to the gym, because when we set goals around self-deprecation, they do not work.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And to your point, Jen, we when we're always just, everyone I know feels stressed and overwhelmed, and life, the pace of life and the
Yes.
demands, and so we're flying through our days, and so we have to make that space for slowing down and listening, staying out of that chronically stressed state that's overproduction of cortisol and a hit to our metabolism. But when we do slow down and listen, our bodies, they're miraculous
Yes.
things that are always communicating with us. But I think what happens so often is because of the pace, we're not listening, we're not tuning in.
Yep.
And then we get disconnected. And then, at some point your body starts shouting at you.
Yes.
And that's not a healthy approach to life.
No.
We've got to be listening all the time and, having that two-way communication. And it's also connected, the thoughts and the physical stuff. And so allowing that space is critical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you said, like life does not stop, right? It's moving forward around everything, right? I mean, people experience, trauma. I mean, in life, right? I mean, it's just like, but it doesn't stop even and I think our bodies are the um repercussion, right? Where,
Keeping the
we,
score.
that's, excuse me,
Keeping the score.
They
keeping the
definitely
score.
do.
The body keeps the score, right? Brilliant.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's when we get sick, right? And then we stop and
Yes.
slow down,
Yeah.
right? And I think that we have to remind, and I'm sure I think we all probably coach around this, is that we have to, as Gayle, you've already said it, so not to, but we have to stop and listen and make space.
We do.
And we are in control if we let ourselves be in control.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the stress component of things is so big. And I think our culture we understand it, but it's almost like this badge of honor that
Yeah.
people, oh, I'm so busy, like it's connected to their value or something.
Mm-hmm.
Without understanding that. So the stat that I often quote to clients is 74% of doctor and urgent care visits are rooted in stress.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
So, and if we're not managing that in a proactive way, it's going to bubble up and affect our health in such dramatic ways. If I think about it, like taking it, we've got to take it's like trash. If we don't take it out every day, it's going to pile up and just smell and just cause all kinds of problems. So we have to be that proactive manager of our stress through the slowing down and there's lots of different ways, of course, to do that, but that really is a key component of having that balance in life and the wellness.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, Gayle, I think that, so many of the things that you're saying and I know I have resonated with in the past and work with women that it definitely resonates. So, if we've got somebody in the audience listening, they're like, oh man, this is me. I'm hearing all me in this conversation, what do you think is just, and I know we've already talked about so many things, but like, what's one just nice, kind, yet powerful first step that a woman can take that can maybe start to tackle this diet stress disorder, or just starting to rebuild that trust in her body and being able to make decisions on her food and nutrition?
Well, of course, I think everybody needs a health coach.
Yes.
But so that's a great question, Jen. I think starting small is the most effective way to approach any change journey. So what tends to happen is we make a decision. Maybe we've had a catastrophic wake up call with our health or something. Okay, I'm gonna stop smoking or start exercising or something, and people get really enthusiastic about the change. It's kind of like a January mentality where everybody's talking about health and wants to get healthier. So I forget about that, because what happens is you go off this high dive and with those big goals, and you start, you land in the water and then you start swimming hard, and within a short period of time, most people end up kind of gasping for air, and they lose sight of the goals and they quit. They've set their goals. If they have goals, specific ones, they are probably too big. So I say, all right, forget about that January high dive mentality. Let's start small and realistic, but be specific, the SMART goal setting, and change the expectations, because that's part of the diet stress disorder. It's, oh, what do you mean I'm only going to lose 1 or 2 pounds a week?
Yeah.
Well, that's the health, it's the healthiest and most sustainable. Anything more than that is so likely to come back. Letting go of that mentality of, that culture that we all live in. We order it tonight, it's going to be on our doorstep and tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Forget it. Just doesn't work with health changes. So starting small, being realistic, and staying in the pool is the other key too. So just to finish that analogy, instead of going off the high dive, you go around, hopefully with your coach, to the shallow end, and you dip your foot in, you check the temperature, and then you take those small steps down the stairs into the water, and then you start swimming, and you stay in the pool. You don't, there might be times where you need to tread water or even float, but just stay in the pool, because health is it's your life foundation. When that gets jeopardized, everything kind of doesn't matter anymore except that. It's so staying in the pool, staying in the game, staying with those realistic goals week by week. And what happens is, of course, as you reorient your habits to higher levels of self-care, it just becomes your default way of being. You don't, that the pool is just where you live. And it's you shed those other things that maybe have held you back in the past.
Yeah. As swimmers, we love that analogy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't.
All right, Gayle, where do people find you? Because I have a feeling people are going to be wanting to find you and more about you.
Yes.
Can you share that with us?
Sure. Health Coach Gayle is my Instagram handle. same web address, healthcoachgayle.com, Gayle with a Y. And, I love just talking to people, to free consult, just conversation to see if we're a fit, or if what you're struggling with might, or if you need something more specific or different through, someone with the medical background and the specializations like you have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
website, Instagram. I'm also on Facebook.
Sorry. You offer a free consultation call, a 15-minute. Do you have like a call that you get to know people? Sorry.
Your voice dropped out for a second. You were asking about the consult that I do. Usually 15, 20, minutes to just kind of assess things and see what's happening, and then we go from there.
Got it. That's great.
Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. And we'll make sure to put that in the description below of the video. So thank you so much, Gayle. This is such an important conversation, and we're really glad that you were able to be with us and share all of your wisdom. I think that hopefully women will feel a little bit at ease and understand themselves a little bit more from this conversation. So if you like this conversation, please make sure to subscribe, add a like, add a comment. And we would love to help you in any way that we can. You can reach out to, we're all linked at in the description. So we'd love to help in any way that we can. So thank you again, Gayle, for being here with us today.
Thank you both so much for having me on. It was a really delightful and powerful conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gayle.
Bye.